Alright, welcome back everyone. So right now we're going to take a look at the BioShock collection, the HD that's been rumored for a while now, and it's even been leaked by several retailers from all around the world, online retailers specifically, and even 2K jumped the gun yesterday and put it on their site. So we assumed that they were definitely going to announce something in the next couple of days, but it turns out that today is the day and the BioShock collection announcement trailer is out. BioShock, the first one, is introduce you to that world, and that was one of the most captivating environmental storytelling, just amazing gaming experiences, just because they put you in that world and they expect you to kind of figure things out, kind of in the same way that I'm playing right now with Inside. And you know, then BioShock 2 came out, wasn't as good as the first one, but still, it was just its own amazing experience. I mean, we're talking about BioShock games that are better than most games out there, just off the bat. And then we have BioShock Infinite that I felt like the combat was actually really good. I enjoyed it. I didn't think that it should have gotten as much hate as it did, but I thought the story was just as captivating as the first one, and I thought it deserved a lot of recognition that year as one of the best games of the year. So we finally got the trailer. 2K released it, and let's go ahead and take a look at the BioShock the Collection announcement trailer. If it were ever gonna play.
I am Andrew Ryan, and I'm here to ask you a question. Is a man not entitled to the sweat?
You could tell instantly that they improved the lighting.
Look, Mr. Bubbles, it's an angel.
Symmetry, dear Steinman. It's time we did something about symmetry.
Rapture is a body, Delta. I am the voice. And Big Sister is the hand. When Rapture speaks of you, it says only this. Your day is done.
Some music too that gets you.
Bring us the gun.
Emily.
He will abandon you, my sweet Elizabeth. Once he has what he needs, he will leave you alone.
We swim in different oceans, but land on the same shore. And it always starts with a lighthouse.
I love that artwork. Hopefully that's what the box art actually looks like. See, BioShock 1, 2, and Infinite, and includes all single-player add-on content. The single-player content for BioShock Infinite specifically was incredible. Absolutely fantastic. I think one of the best DLCs of all time, at least single-player-wise. Comes out September 13th, so soon. Usually that's what you expect with HD collections. They usually come out fairly soon after. Instead, if you're Arkham Knight or The Return to Arkham, you know, you get delayed every once in a while. But I think obviously the lighting looks a lot better. It's not a huge remake in terms of maybe something like Ratchet and Clank, where everything is being built from the ground up. This is definitely something that is more so in the vein of, you know, typical HD collections that you see. So I'm excited to replay those games, and you know, HD collections are just another reason to just jump right back into it. So with that said, let's go break down the trailer and let's head to the couch. All right, still getting used to this couch, but with time, that will come. So here we obviously have one thing that BioShock games do so well, especially the first one, and definitely, you know, in BioShock Infinite with Columbia, is they introduce you to this environment at the very beginning of the game in a very unique way, and sometimes it's in a very slow kind of silent moment, sometimes it's through, you know, silent moment but with narration in the background and over a speaker or whatever. And here this kind of trailer is setting that same kind of tone, kind of showing you, okay, these are what these worlds are going to look like running at 1080p, 60 frames per second, and this is something that the Rapture, and specifically when you play that first BioShock game, and the reason why it's so highly regarded, you know, when you make, the first games usually get extra points, and here we have a perfect example of just setting you inside that world with hints around of what little details that show you, okay, this is a world that was lived in. These are people that are running these shops and companies and Robertson's Tobacco, Tabacaria. Yeah, and obviously here you have the first BioShock, and it looks great. Obviously, it's not going to look as good as something like Columbia will, but at the same time, I mean, just the fact that we're getting this game in pristine 1080p resolution, even though, you know, PC players have been doing it for years, is nice for console players. Yep, there we go. So here's a perfect example of great environmental storytelling done in the BioShock games. Here we have the Rapture Masquerade Ball in 1959. Gives you a little timestamp for the era. Gives you a little idea of exactly what time we are in and where exactly maybe some of the events unfolded. And here we have Happy New Year 1959, and then you know, the Rapture logo. And great use of color here, and just gives you a very distinct kind of look at the world, and at the same time gives you, you know, it's kind of grounded in the way, you know, the 50s were at the time, and gives you a kind of feeling like, okay, this is what New York City looked like, but in the 50s, but underwater, I guess. So a very unique world, and it immediately draws you in. What?
Look, Mr. Bubbles.
Mr. Bubbles, you goddamn crazy person. All right, here's another example of a poster, little details around the world, and this is what BioShock games do so well, is they put you right in. And there's just some people, some games do it in a kind of way where, okay, things are scattered around the world, you have to go find them, and BioShock games do that as well. But sometimes in these games, they're very overt, they're very in your face, and that's sometimes better. It just gives you just enough for you to be like, okay, 1959, there's some religious imagery over there, and you know, there's some stuff that makes it seem like, okay, this is a place that was normal and had people, and they had jobs, and they had concerts that they went to, and famous people, and it just makes everything a lot more grounded. But at the same time, it's, you know, it's BioShock. You know, you're not going to get too grounded with this. And this is the moment where I saw, okay, these are very crisp images. It just immediately shows you that the resolution at these things are going to be pretty high, and we're going to be satisfied with it. Obviously, they're not going to be able to remake it from the ground up and make it be like something like Ratchet and Clank, where the assets are actually, you know, done from scratch. But this is something where it's a nice happy medium, where we are getting a remastered version of these games where we didn't have them before as far as console players go. And you know, the images are just sharp, so hopefully it goes and permeates throughout the whole entire experience. Okay, here's another example of religious imagery and overtones, and we will be reborn. She is our salvation. So if you haven't played these games, you just know that there's some deep stuff that they're touching on. And that's not necessarily the kind of game I want, because I don't always want things to be super deep. But the BioShock games are that, and they don't apologize for it. And they touch on some very serious stuff, and they touch on stuff that that you can definitely relate to nowadays, and in a very unique way. It's not so like on the nose in terms of, okay, this is a direct relationship with what this is happening in the world. It's just, it's very much like they do it in their own way, and I like that. Fallen is Babylon. Okay, so we saw in Uncharted 4: Thief's End, there was a moment where you saw these iconic kind of you know, paintings of these pirates, right? These famous pirates that have built this city, and from the ground up, really. And you know, they wanted to really emphasize how special they were. And then there was a moment where you walk through this these ruins of this kind of, I wouldn't say it a palace, but definitely like a ballroom. And they say thief on all the paintings, on every single one. And this is an example of a city that has been in somewhat of turmoil. Fallen is Babylon. So, and then we have pictures down here. So this is just great, you know, this game is perfect for screenshots that develop some sort of discussion. It's not just for beauty purposes. You know, a lot of games have photo modes, but they're just like, okay, this is a beautiful shot, right? Or this is the most artistic shot. This is something that was done artistically from the very beginning, and just gives you, just tells so many stories, just this one image itself. And those images are this is like the perfect game to create like a book club for it, or like a game club, and just speak about it and touch on all these different things. I mean, if there was a video game class, I'm sure that they would talk, or a video game narrative class, I'm sure that they would talk about this game in some format, or all the BioShock games for that matter. Great music, and then BioShock Infinite, Jesus, man. I mean, just look at how gorgeous that world is. I know it took a long time to make this game, and you know, they teased it for a while and they went dark for a while, but when it came out, when I played it, I was just blown away. I really, really was. A lot of people talk about the combat or whatever, but the world itself, look at it. It's a huge jump from the way Rapture looked in terms of, you know, visual fidelity, in terms of just use of color, and it was a huge difference as to what the blue and the neon colors that they use, the very dark kind of New York City look, to a very bright kind of, I don't even know what to relate it to. I guess you can kind of point to Boston. Boston, old school Boston, looked very much like this, and it's kind of like in there, in the architecture of the buildings, and I just really love the way and the use of color that they brought forth in this, and it just looks, this world is just like any other. It looks amazing.
Bring us the gun.
Yeah, Mamalai.
Don't wipe away the date.
He will abandon you, my sweet Elizabeth. Once he has what he needs, he will leave you.
Here we have this this other shot as well, and they do cinematic moments very well, these little set pieces very well, and they're very driven in narrative and story and characters, and I like that. I like that a lot. And man, Ken Levine just really just outdoes himself with these games, and he's obviously not the only one that works on them, but he's definitely one of them. And Robertson as well.
It always starts with the light.
All right, and this is the final shot. Let me just go a little back. This is the final shot. This is the beginning, and this is the introduction of the BioShock world. And obviously, you know, it's not the most. You could just immediately tell that there's a difference between the graphical fidelity and something like the original BioShock and BioShock Infinite, and that's just what happens with time. But man, there really aren't like any other games like this, and it's an HD collection trailer. I wanted to focus a little bit on just what BioShock games do really well, but also wanted to shine a little light on you know, how these games look as compared to what they look like in the past. So the original BioShock isn't going to take a huge leap forward. You know, none of these games really are, but they are going to bring forth the best quality version of those games, running at a high frame rate and running at a great resolution. So I'm excited about that. So any reason to go back and play these games is always a good reason. What's going to be most interesting is the price. So with that said, let's go back and let's go back to the chair. All right. Okay, so September 13th is the day. Obviously, a couple of months we're going to have to wait for this, but at the same time, I want to check out the price. Pre-order now. It's 3 games remastered in the typical way that they are remastered. All right. Okay, so September 13th is the day. I really want to see the price, so maybe if I press pre-order now, it will show up. But because it's 3 games, because they're so critically renowned, because, you know, they're getting the remastered treatment and they're including all the DLC and director's commentary, you could expect this collection to be somewhere around $60. If it's $50, if it's $40, then I'm all in. I mean, sometimes these collections and these remasters get a lot of flack, you know, for being this, you know, this cash grab and all that kind of stuff. But if this means that they're going to be working on a new BioShock game, or they're going to kind of dive deeper into that universe, then I'm all for it. You know, maybe this is just kind of like testing the waters, or maybe this is they're already working on the game and it's just kind of like, you know, let's release this, let's get people acclimated, and let's get people who haven't played the BioShock series to get kind of into it. And this is a perfect way to do that. You know, you're releasing these games on PS4, you're giving that treatment that you'd expect, better lighting, better textures, all of that common stuff that you see out of remasters, they're putting it into this game. You know, BioShock, the first one, is probably going to be the one that probably looks worse, but that's with anything. And BioShock Infinite is probably going to really, really impress from a technical and graphical perspective. So hopefully they push what they can do with these things, and hopefully it's not just the basic remaster. Oh, it's upscaled to 1080p or whatever. I really want to see them push a few things, and it seems like from the trailer they are kind of playing around with that idea. So let me know what you guys think, of course, about the BioShock collection. We're getting Infinite, we're getting 2, and we're getting 1. And the highlight of those 3 is probably 1, but BioShock Infinite is probably comes in second for me, just because of how different the world is, and really how drastically the tone is from the first games in terms of, like, you know, putting those pieces together, but also visually just stunning. And yeah, you can talk about the combat and we can have a conversation about that, but I think that it was okay. I think it kind of made sense in the world, but at the same time, I completely understand the the criticism that it gets. But yet again, we do have BioShock 1 to play, and that's always one of those, like, you know, one of the best storytelling games of all time. And I definitely put it up there with a lot of other games as well. And I'm talking about, you know, Zeldas, and we're talking about Mario's, and we're talking about stuff that Naughty Dog has done. We're talking about just games that really stand the test of time, and Elder Scrolls and all that stuff. So I personally can't wait to jump back in. Of course, let me know what you guys think, and if you hate me, you know what to do. If you like me, you know what to do, and I'll see you guys all later.